Hello, I'm Kate Hugh. I am the Education Manager at the Manchester Poetry Library at Manchester Metropolitan University. I'm delighted to be presenting information about the 2024 Northwest Mother Tongue or the Tongue competition. This is the 12th year that this competition has run and the third year it's been launched as part of the Manchester Poetry Library's education offer. To find out more, please watch this presentation. You can also find the same information on our website. Just to say that even if you're a school or a group who've entered Mother Tongue or the Tongue before, we have made a few minor changes to the rubric this year and we'll be presenting the winning entries differently too. So do watch or check the website to make sure that you've not missed anything. Over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to run you through the Northwest competition rubric. I specify Northwest because Mother Tongue or the Tongue runs in other regions across England, Scotland and Wales, and each has its own rubric and deadlines. So if you're viewing this presentation and you're from a region other than the Northwest of England, please see our website mmu.ac.uk/Mother Tongue or the Tongue and click on the How to Enter page to find out if Mother Tongue or the Tongue runs in your area. If it does, we encourage you to enter your local competition. If it doesn't, and you want to take part, the Northwest England region, that's us, accept entries from anywhere, including internationally. We also encourage anyone, regardless of region, to utilise the resources provided on our website. These have been developed by the Manchester Poetry Library here at Manchester Met, and having put work into developing them, we're very keen for them to be used as broadly as possible. The Mother Tongue or the Tongue competition was developed initially here in the Northwest at Manchester Metropolitan University by Carol Ann Duffy, the then Poet Laureate. It was one of the first laureate education projects during her tenure, and she wanted to create something that would use the language of poetry to allow children from different backgrounds, languages and cultures to connect. The project is now administered from the Manchester Poetry Library as part of our education programme. We're also supported in this by Roots into Languages Northwest, who are offering a programme of online language-based workshops for schools in March. As I've already mentioned, the competition has also been picked up across various regions in England, Scotland and Wales, and has benefited tens of thousands of young people since it started in 2012. Over the next 40 minutes or so, I will explain two competition categories, Mother Tongue and Other Tongue. I'll go through the key dates for our Northwest competition, I'll share our judging criteria, and I will also signpost some of the resources that are available to support anyone wishing to run the project in their school or in any other group situation, whatever the region. So when we initially devised our project back in 2012, we spent time deciding on a rubric that could be flexible enough to encourage the sharing of heritage languages and cultures, and also to encourage young people to be creative and playful with that language. We settled on two distinct categories, Mother Tongue and Other Tongue. Mother tongue, for the purposes of our competition, means any language that a child considers to be their mother tongue. This can be a language that they're fluent in or a language that's spoken at home that they're not necessarily fluent in. It may be that their mother tongue is not the same as that of their parents. For example, many migrant children might come from one country but may have grown up in many others and may regard one of those languages as their mother tongue. For others, it could just be that this is their family language. They may not speak the language themselves, but they might still want to celebrate it. This project aims to encourage conversations about language and culture to take place in the classroom and also at home. We want these conversations to take place amongst family members, but also between classmates and friends. There are no restrictions on what languages can be submitted for the Mother Tongue category, other than that it can't be English. There are lots of brilliant competitions that welcome original poetry in English. This just isn't one of them. Pieces submitted for the Mother Tongue category can be original, or they can be pieces that have been read or remembered or shared by another family member, or simply something that they've found. This is because the entry won't be judged on the piece itself. It will be judged on the accompanying commentary, which is no more than 100 words written in English, telling us something about the piece that's been shared and why it's important to the person sharing or writing it. If a translation is provided, it can be helpful to our discussions and to our understanding of the poem, but it won't form part of the judging process. However, if you're working to share poems in other languages in your classroom and you're thinking about the commentary, translation might be a good starting point for that. Entries can be individual or collaborative. So, for example, if a child doesn't speak or write particularly good English, they might want to work with a classmate to write their commentary. Or siblings or friends might want to share a poem together. This is fine, just include all the names and a note about how the group have worked together on the piece itself. For example, last year we had a lovely poster that had been created by a group of younger children from the Greek school in Manchester. We ended up including that as a group piece in our anthology last year. We're always happy to receive entries that fall a little outside the rubric, as long as they're in the spirit of the competition. Entering the Mother Tongue category is a great way to foster discussions amongst classmates about culture and language, and a way to celebrate differences in language and culture within your class. Again, translation could be a good starting point for doing this in the classroom, but in terms of the competition entry, the translation is the equivalent of showing you're working out with a maths problem. It's interesting for us to see, and we might include it or extracts from it in the finished publication, but it won't impact the judging. So just to reiterate, judging for Mother Tongue, Other Tongue is on the 100-word commentary, even if the poem submitted is original. I'll touch on this shortly more when we discuss the judging criteria. We don't accept entries from parents or children individually. Entries need to come from a group or a school. This is for practical reasons and because we want groups to see this as more than just a competition. Group entries usually come from schools, but other groups, supplementary schools, community groups, home education groups, etc., are also very welcome. To make judging manageable, entries are limited to up to 6 entries each for Mother Tongue and for Other Tongue, and per age category. So if you're doing a whole school project, you can select from each group. New for 2024, in addition to the commentary for the Mother Tongue category, we're also inviting our entrants to introduce their piece with a 50 to 75 word language story. This is just an optional add-on. It's not judged. The language story simply gives us more context to the entry, and we're keen to collect them out of interest. If we get enough, we may consider doing something with them, but we would come back to check with individuals first before sharing any of these. The language story won't be judged, so there are no firm guidelines. This is just a personal statement, so the young person sharing the piece can also tell us about the language they or their family speak, if there are any other languages spoken at home, and anything else they want to share about theirs or their family's language story. For those of you who've entered work in this project in the past, you'll know that this is new. And like all the best ideas, it's stolen. One of the schools who entered the competition last year, Archbishop Blanche, sent a little introduction to each of their Mother Tongue entries last year, and we really enjoyed reading them. We invited some of the pupils from Archbishop Blanche in last year to share those stories in the poetry library as part of our celebrations, and we're hoping to see more of these language stories coming in from other schools this year. So just to repeat again, this won't form part of the judging process, but we are keen to collect these stories with a view to maybe doing something with them at some point in the future. Archbishop Blanche created their own anthology of language stories last year within the school. And if other schools did the same, this is something that might form part of an exhibition or a display at the Poetry Library. So we're just putting the idea out there with you to see what happens. So back to our other main competition category. Other Tongue is where our English speakers can also get involved by being creative in a language that they're learning. We have to limit the languages it's possible to enter in for this category. That's because it's judged as a creative piece written in a second language. So entries normally come in Spanish, French, German, Italian, Urdu, Arabic, Chinese, but we'll try and accommodate any language that a young person might be learning in school. That's either mainstream or supplementary. So in the past, we've had entries in Farsi, Polish, Ukrainian. If we can find a student judge to judge the entry, we will. This is about encouraging young people to be creative in a language that they're learning. So we'll be as flexible as we can. Again, we exclude English from this list. There are lots of other fabulous competitions that encourage poetry in English. Entries in the Other Tongue category are judged on the original poem or song. They can be collaborations and they can code switch between languages if that works creatively. Again, this is about encouraging creativity. We want you to play with the format and with the language. We also welcome poetry that is recorded or filmed. As long as you can provide us with a link and we can easily access it, we'll judge it. We also ask you to provide a written text with that as well. It's just handy to refer to. Other tongue isn't about translation either. We do ask for a translation of the poem written to be included. That's because a judge speaking the language will lead the discussion, but it helps others who aren't fluent in the language to be able to refer to a translation. But please don't get your students to write a poem in English and then translate it. We want them to be creative in the language itself. Again, we only accept submissions from groups and schools, not individuals. And again, we limit the number of entries to up to 6 per age category, split into primary, years 4, 5, 6, years 10 and 11, and then years 12 and 13. So some key dates for your diaries. Entries for the 2024 competition are welcome anytime between now and the beginning of June. Entries must be submitted by email and via a teacher, librarian, or any other group leader. Entries must be accompanied by the cover sheet that you will be able to download from the website. I'll show you that shortly. Judging will take place the 2 weeks after the deadline. That's the beginning of June. I'll say a little bit more about this shortly as well. We will notify schools of their winners by the week of Monday, the 17th of June, and every school with a winning entrant will be invited to join us for our celebration day, which is on the 18th of July. Please save that date in your diaries. We'll confirm more details nearer the time. You may also want to make a note of the week of the 18th of March. This is when our partners, Roots into Languages Northwest, are planning to offer some free online language-based workshops for schools. I'll say a little bit more about these shortly when we talk about the resources. Another thing new for 2024 is the way we present the work. So as ever, our main reason for running this project is to celebrate the diversity of languages and cultures and the role that poetry can play in helping young people to talk about this. As ever, there will be a celebration event in July. I've already mentioned that. Details of that day on the 18th are yet to be confirmed, but please save the date. It's likely on the 18th of July that the under 16 entrants will be invited in during the day, as they were last year. Over 16 winners will be celebrated in the evening at an event for teachers and parents. The change for 2024 is in the way we plan to publish the winning entries. So usually all the winning entries are edited and published in our Mother Tongue, Other Tongue anthology, which is presented to students at the event in July. This year, we plan to do things a little differently. We will still judge and select work for publication. However, instead of collecting the work and editing it into an anthology, we plan this year to create posters featuring the winning entries. These will be displayed in the poetry library, and the young people themselves will receive copies of their work as postcards. They will be presented with these at the event in July. Now, for us, usually this is the end point of our competition. People's work is in the anthology and they take a copy of this away with them. This year, however, we really want to continue to work to develop the pieces of work. We want students to think about editing their work, about how to present it, how to perform it, how to celebrate the work shared. And we want to do this start this process on the 18th of July. Details of exactly how this will happen are still being discussed, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but pupils will still come in to receive their published work, and they will go away with a poster or a postcard containing their work. We've got some exciting ideas, though, that we hope to share with you when we get in touch with our winners in June. Work from the Mother Tongue, Other Tongue competition in poster form and in postcards will also be on exhibition in the Poetry Library throughout the summer, so watch this space. So to the judging criteria. Our judging process and criteria for both categories remains the same as in previous years. We don't have an overall winner, and though we take account of the ages of the young poets, we aim to select a diverse range of languages, topics and ages and celebrate work by that group of young people. Though this is run as a competition, we never really view it as such. It's more of an editorial selection process for us. And even though we plan to produce individual posters and postcards this year, our aim will still be to showcase as many schools, languages, approaches and ideas as we can fit in. As I've already said, for the mother tongue category, we don't judge on the original piece, but on the 100-word commentary, which is written in English. A translation might be provided and it can be helpful, but this does not form part of the judgment. So please make sure the commentary doesn't rely on the translation and explains the poem's meaning clearly. Even if the poem is original, the commentary has to sell it. It needs to be able to stand alone, basically. Our judges are Manchester Met students who have experience of being bilingual or multilingual and who have a strong interest in poetry. We usually have a big pool of students. I think there were about 12 or 15 last year. Each piece entered for the competition is read by at least 3 individual students, student judges, who are asked to score on how well the commentary demonstrates the understanding of the poem shared or written, the story, so that's how well the young person is able to demonstrate their reason for sharing or writing the poem. And here we're looking for the individual's passion, why they think that poem should be shared and what they love about that poem. We're looking at the quality of the writing. We do take account of the age of the child and also where English isn't the first language, and we make allowances for this. However, the commentaries are published alongside the poems on the posters, so they do need to be written well and presented clearly. We want the pupils basically to be proud of what they've written. The judging criteria for other tongue is slightly different. In other tongue, this is the opportunity for young people to show off their language skills in a creative way. So entries in this category are judged on the original poem in a language that's being learned. As I said earlier, we will try to accommodate as many languages here as we can, but we do have to limit entries to languages that we're able to judge. So do get in touch if you think that the language your pupil wants to submit in is perhaps a little obscure. If we can help and can work with you on that, we will. Entries in this category are judged on the original poem, as I say. We ask for a translation, but this is just to help with judging and editing should the poem be selected. It also helps the discussion between the judges, especially where not all of them speak the language fluently, to have a translation for reference. And we might also put this alongside the poem if we think it's necessary to enable other readers who don't speak the language used to be able to understand it. So the translation is essential, but it won't be judged. As with the mother tongue category, each piece will be read by at least 3 judges, and judges will be asked to take into account the ages of the young people submitting. They will score according to the idea behind the poem and how well it's written, and this will take account of the use of rhyme scheme, the use of imagery, etc. So we're looking at the poetry itself. So we do ask that poems submitted in this category are not written first in English and then translated. We want entrants to have been creative in the language they're learning. And elements of the poem like rhyme and metre won't work often as a direct translation. We're marking the quality of the poem submitted and the idea behind it, basically. I suppose this next bit really is a request from us to you. There is some leeway here for crossover between the 2 categories, and we very much rely on our co-coordinators in school to determine whether a poem should be entered in the mother tongue or the other tongue category. So, for example, a child may come from a family where the mother tongue is Chinese, say, and they attend a Chinese supplementary school where they learn the language. If this child wanted to share a Chinese poem that they've learned or that's been shared with them, not one that they've written, they would enter the mother tongue category by writing an English commentary about this poem and why they wanted to share it. If, however, they wrote an original poem in Chinese, this could technically be entered into either category, mother tongue or other tongue. So we rely on the teacher or the group leader submitting the entries to decide which category it's best to submit in. We're not looking to trip anybody up here. We just want the child to have the best experience. So, you know, if that child is already fluent in Chinese, whether or not this is their first language, I'd suggest their poem should be entered into mother tongue as an original poem and then judged on the commentary. If the child comes from a Chinese speaking household, but they're not fluent and are learning the language at their supplementary school, then the poem should be entered into the other tongue category. The same obviously applies across other languages. So your judgment, your common sense. We rely greatly on our teacher coordinators engaging with the spirit of the competition. And this is one of the reasons we request entries through groups rather than via individuals. You know your pupils, and we rely on you to engage in the spirit of the project. So everything I've said so far and everything you need to know about how to enter, including links to the resources that you'll find useful, can be found on our website. And I'm going to just transition now to show you that website. If you could just bear with me 1 second. Hopefully you can see that now. So I'm going to just scroll quickly through the website with you, leave you to explore it on your own. Mother tongue, other tongue, and about the competition, you can find out there that we're on the how to enter page at the moment. If you want to look at previous anthologies from previous years, they're here on this tab, and there's also a tab for resources and links, which I'm just going to take you through very briefly shortly. So on the how to enter page, you'll see information about the competition, about the 2 categories that I've already gone through here. There's information about our judging criteria on the website, and there's also a link to resources. You can see here that, sorry, at the bottom of that page before, you could also see that there was a poster and a flyer for people to share information about the competition within the school. So this is a plain mother tongue other tongue poster and a plain mother tongue other tongue flyer with a space on there for you to put your information, so you can use that within your school to promote the competition to your pupils. So on the resources page, we've got a few introductory videos that you might find useful. So we spoke to poets Valerie Bloom, Uzma Malik and Bogdan Piasecki, and they have all recorded short videos for us. These are about 8 minutes long and really handy to play in the classroom. Valerie speaks patois, and she talks in this video about her Jamaican language and how she decides which language to use in her writing. These are all sort of focused on mother tongue, on the mother tongue category, really. Dr. Uzma Malik speaks Urdu, Arabic, Punjabi, and Spanish, and she is also learning Farsi. And in this, she speaks about the impact that her multilingualism has had on her own writing. There's a second video with Uzma where she shares a poem and also reads a story in Urdu. That one's for younger children. Bogdan Piasecki is a Polish poet who we worked with to develop our Polish collection in the Poetry Library. And Bogdan grew up speaking Polish, English and French, and he talks about this, how this affects the way he thinks and the way he writes. Each one of those poets also did full-length workshops in schools, which they allowed us to record, and details of those workshops are here on the website. It tells you quite clearly what's in them and who they're suitable for. So if you wanted to access one of those, all you need to do is email me, katu@mmu.ac.uk, to request the resources. I mentioned earlier that the Roots into Languages Northwest offer. So on the week of the 18th of March, Roots into Languages Northwest are offering a series of language-specific workshops online for schools. Full details have been to be confirmed. These will be more other tongue based, and they will include Chinese, French, Spanish, German, and possibly a multilingual workshop. There are some additional resources if you scroll down the page. I'm going to leave you just to explore these on your own. We will be adding to this as well. We've actually got some resources that we haven't yet put on the website. So we'll be adding those over the coming weeks. So please do explore that website. I'm just going to go back to the how to enter competition, how to enter page. If you are from a different region other than the Northwest, As I said before, please do check out whether or not the competition runs in your area. For instance, in the east of England, the competition's run by Roots into Languages East, and you can see details of their competition via that link. The northeast of England run their competition as part of the Festival of Languages. Their deadline is the 22nd of March, so they all have different deadlines, and you can find out more by clicking on that link. However, if, for instance, you were from Northern Ireland, you would find that the competition doesn't run in Northern Ireland, so you are very welcome to enter the North West England competition, and details of that are here. This is the one that we coordinate. And it's exactly as I've explained. We go how to enter, and I've shown this page already. These are the promotional materials that I mentioned. So there's a poster and there's a flyer at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to go back to the presentation now. So everything I've just run through is on that website. You can also Google Mother Tongue, Other Tongue, Manchester Metropolitan University 2024, and it'll take you there. Or if you want to email mtot@mmu.ac.uk, I'll send you the link. I mentioned the Roots into Languages workshops on the 18th of March. Please just make a note of those. And if you're signed up to this event via Eventbrite, we'll send you the link anyway. Or if you're on the Poetry Library newsletter, you'll get that link sent to you when those workshops are available. So I hope that you found something so far that will inspire your pupils and that will inspire you to engage with Mother Tongue, Other Tongue this year. As it says on the website, organisations and pupils who get the most out of running this competition will see it as more than just a competition. There's so much more you can do with it. We encourage schools and other groups to celebrate all of the work created in their school by creating anthologies, exhibitions, events, and by including families. You know, just an idea, why don't you invite your families in for a multilingual poetry open mic and have the pupils host that? You know, it's a really lovely way to involve parents and families. A couple of teachers who were involved in the project last year have set up Mother Tongue, Other Tongue clubs in their schools. These were lunchtime sessions, and they just opened them up to kids from across the school. And then they wrote and submitted poetry for the competition last year and came and shared that with us on our celebration event. I hope to do a session, an online session with these teachers and with other teachers who've also done interesting things with the project, maybe sometime over the couple of months. So again, the next couple of months. So again, a link will go onto the Mother Tongue, Other Tongue website, and we'll email anybody who's on our mailing list. So do sign up for the Poetry Library newsletter if you want to be kept informed about anything like this. If you're doing something with Mother Tongue, Other Tongue in your school, you would like specific targeted support, or you'd like to be part of this small network of teachers who are pushing the boundaries of the project, please get in touch with me via my email. I would love to hear from you. I always like chatting to people. Similarly, if you want to explore different ways of engaging with poetry and language through performance or film animation, we'd love to hear your ideas. So do talk to us, share anything you're doing via our Twitter platform, and we also welcome blog posts. Just get in touch and sign up for the Poetry Library newsletter. Final reminder, the key dates. Entries welcome anytime now. If you're not from the northwest of England, please check the website to see if something's happening in your region for their deadlines. If it isn't, or you've missed their deadline, you're more than welcome to enter ours. Last year we featured a school in Oman, so don't be shy. We welcome international entries, welcome entries from anywhere. Week commencing the 18th of March is the Roots into Languages offer. Aim for the end of May for your entries, to get your entries completed. The 3rd of June comes immediately after a holiday. That's just to give people time to sort of have a holiday and send it on that Monday if they need to. But if you can get it in before the end of May, that's brilliant. We can start judging. And please put the 18th of July in your diaries. This would be the afternoon for the schools workshops and the presentations, and in the evening for the post-16s and the teacher group leaders for our showcase event. So finally, thanks again for watching this presentation. I'm really looking forward to reading all of your entries again this year. Thank you.